Welcome. We're doing a deep dive today into something that really impacts, well, all of our daily lives. The erosion, you could say, of culture itself. We're looking closely at a text called Ashes of the Ark, a Cultural Autopsy. It's quite a stark examination.
It really is.
It talks about how society feels like it's running on memory. It's just memory. Leaving behind what it calls a shell of culture efficient, optimized, and emotionally vacant.
Emotionally vacant. That hits hard.
It does. And the author insists this isn't just looking back fondly, it's not nostalgia. It's presented as a reckoning.
Right.
We'll touch on themes like, genre drift, algorithmic erosion, the fading of cultural memory.
And what's so powerful, I think, is how the source uses this historical arc. It shows this pattern quite clearly.
The pattern.
Yeah, where, initial promise, it often led somehow to erosion, innovation twisted into, well, manipulation.
Okay.
So we'll trace that journey. Not just to understand what happened, but really why these shifts matter to you right now as you sort of navigate the cultural landscape.
Okay, let's unpack that arc then. Starting right at the foundations, the industrial age.
Right.
The source calls it the age of extraction. Vivid phrasing. It says fire and steel didn't just, turn farms into cities.
No, it's deeper than
It fundamentally reshaped our relationship with time, with creation itself.
That's a critical insight, actually. How industrialization didn't just change what we made, but it restructured time.
Yep.
Time itself became segmented, monetized.
The clock punching in, punching out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the artisan, the person who was a master of tradition and skill, they were replaced by the factory worker.
Okay.
Think about that metaphor. Craft gives way to production, even with something simple like candy.
Candy.
Yeah, it went from being this little moment of joy to just a product of scale. Mass-produced. Architecture, too.
How so?
Well, it shifted from, ornate facades, things built with pride, maybe civic beauty in mind, to brick blocks, just functional. Industrial efficiency took priority over everything else. Community feel, beauty, secondary.
So that sets the stage. Then, moving forward, the source looks at the mid-20th century, post-war optimism.
Yeah, the 50s, early 60s. That feeling that anything was possible, a real wave of hope.
And this is interesting, the source points out cracks were already forming. Even then, what kind of cracks are we talking about? It seems counterintuitive during such an optimistic time.
Well, that's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Because the source suggests these weren't like obvious failures. They were subtle shifts.
Oh, okay, subtle how?
Take cars, for example.
Yeah.
They were mechanical marvels, sure, but they quickly became marketing platforms.
Status symbols, branding.
Exactly. Their utility almost became secondary to the aspirational image, even environmentalism when it finally arrived. The source says it was quickly monetized.
Lost its edge.
Lost some of that grassroots purity, maybe. The Green Revolution is even framed as often being more of a financial one, driven by investment portfolios, not necessarily genuine planetary stewardship.
So the seeds of commodification were sown early, even in hopeful times.
That's a recurring theme, yes. This early commodification.
Okay, so the source tracks developments between then and now, but it spends some time on the 1980s, and it pushes back against the usual image.
Right, not the neon fantasy.
No. It paints this picture that was green, gray, and brown, tobacco stain, laced with the scent of vinyl and static, but also alive, paradoxically.
It's striking, isn't it? How it emphasizes that culture was still embodied then. It had a physical presence.
Embodied? How?
Well, think about music. Synth music, yes, but it supported the voice, didn't dominate it. Lyrics carried emotional weight. They mattered.
Like connection.
Connection was physical. You actually met people. You called them on the phone, passed notes, tangible things.
Right, not just DMs.
Exactly. Even candy, going back to that example.
Yeah.
It had texture. It was rarer, tied to specific places or people.
Frango mints or
the hard candies in your grandma's dish. Yeah, those kinds of things. They weren't just everyday indulgences. You waited for them.
Yeah.
You remembered them.
You remembered them. That really brings home this theme of fading memory, doesn't it? And the tangible nature of culture back then.
It really does.
So if the 80s still had this embodied culture, this tangibility, how did the next big shift, the digital drift, the algorithmic age, how did that accelerate the erosion, the loss of memory and connection?
Well, the author suggests the early internet, it felt infinite.
Yeah, wide open, a bit Wild West.
Full of raw expressions of curiosity. You could fall down rabbit holes of discovery. But then algorithms changed the game completely.
How so?
Today, your search results, they're often curated not by relevance or creativity, but by ad spend. What you see is what someone paid for you to see.
Right, optimized for engagement maybe, but not depth.
Exactly. And social media had shifted. It became, as the source puts it, a surveillance apparatus.
Really?
Meaning it went from being just a tool for connection to a system constantly gathering data, learning about you, influencing your behavior.
And subcultures.
Flattened into aesthetics. They lose their depth, their history, their meaning, become just a look, a superficial trend you can buy into.
It's like a costume.
Sort of. And language itself. Emojis replace nuance. We sacrifice the richness of expression for speed, for efficiency.
And AI now.
Well, the source argues the AI era just compounds this. It mimics without memory. It creates without lineage. It can generate content, sure, but without genuine historical context, without lived human experience.
So it risks creating a simulation of culture, not a continuation of it.
Precisely. A simulation, efficient, optimized, maybe vacant.
Which brings us to now. The source calls this moment toxic ashes and emerging dystopia. That's heavy.
It is.
Not quite the sterilized future of, say, Demolition Man.
Not yet.
But it's prelude, the groundwork. The author says the decay is visible. You can see it if you look.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, you see what they mean. Institutions.
Yeah.
They're still functioning, mostly. Schools, hospitals, governments. But do they inspire anymore?
That's a good question.
Art gets made, but does it often move us? Deeply. The examples given are everywhere. Education is gamified and hollowed. Learning becomes points and badges.
Healthcare, digitized and impersonal. Click-through menus, talk to bots.
Architecture, modular and bland. Function, cost, speed. Not beauty, not spirit. It's described as the rot that precedes the final collapse.
Wow.
Like, the scaffolding is still here, but the spirit is gone.
We are then, as the source concludes, living in the toxic residue of a cultural arc that once carried meaning. That's the assessment.
Yeah.
So the question it leaves us with isn't really about whether rebirth is possible anymore.
No, it shifts to the focus.
And asks whether our memory can survive long enough to even matter.
And that really poses a critical question for you listening now.
Or,
Will we rebuild with lineage and soul, drawing from what came before, understanding it?
Oh.
Or will we just passively accept the simulation, decide that's sufficient, good enough?
Yeah.
The answer, the source seems to suggest, well, it depends on those who still remember what came before. People who resist flattening, who actively refuse, to let culture just become another product.
something to really ponder as you navigate the world around you. A heavy thought to end on.
Indeed. Something to carry with you.